to attend lots of fun activities and go on long, all-day rides. It is what we have done since we moved to Florida. But even with all the busyness, I miss you. I miss sharing the little things that happen day to day. I miss having each of you with me in those moments. I miss thinking how this moment looks from the outside. I'm afraid. I'm afraid if I don't record these moments, that they will be lost in the fog of my own memory, which too will fade someday. I am afraid that when George passes, I will be overwhelmed with guilt because I will only remember the times my patience came up short. I won't remember all the good times, the laughs, the dances, and all the hugs. Out of fear and nostalgia for the community you helped me create by following our 2016 journey, I will keep posting, keep updating, and keep this journal thing going. At least try when I can pull myself away from the day-to-day. First of all, let me update you on what has been happening since I last posted. We moved. So many decisions and so much to do, no wonder I wasn't posting. I had to pick and contract for new flooring and painting, managed to pull the funds together in time for closing. And then there was the move itself. Our Withlacoochee biking friends helped a lot. Wow! Even the ones with bad backs helped in any way they could. Carrying the small items, unpacking the dishes, sweeping the floors. Deborah delivered lunch to us. Glenn took George to run errands. Regis used his big van to haul stuff. Regis and Cindy returned to our old place to vacuum up all the pieces. We had probably 10 friends here, and I was supposed to be standing and telling them where to put stuff, and not doing a very good job of it. Then a few days later, 2 more bike friends, Jerry and Dave, came over and put up pictures so perfectly. I love it. You may be wondering, how is George doing? George seems happy, but he doesn't tell me so unless I ask. He still says I love you. And the other day, Friday, 1/20/17, I couldn't believe it. But before I get into what I couldn't believe on Friday, I first have to give you some background information. I am working part-time at a little bike shop on the Withlacoochee Trail in Floral City, Trailside Bike, formerly known as Hampton's Edge. I started in late October 2016. Recently, I started taking George with me when I go to work. It works out well right now because the owner is gone, and George can sit in his office chair, see me, do his coloring, and watch his videos. He has moved on from How It's Made to The Three Stooges. He is very quiet, and my coworkers are supportive. I started taking him to work with me because one day we were about ready to hop on our trikes and go meet the group for a ride. George went to use the half bath on the first floor. He was in there a long while. I was concerned. I heard a flush, and he opened the door, and I saw that the toilet was overflowing behind him. George stood by and watched as I turned off the water. I ran into the garage and got the plunger and some big rags to soak up the mess. George followed me every step, a few paces behind. When I got back to the bathroom, I laid down the rags to start soaking. Both of us tried to get the plunger to work. It was the former owner's plunger, and it didn't plunge. Fortunately, our neighbors, who also ride with the group, had not left yet. I borrowed their plunger. The mess cleaned up, we got on our trikes and started down the road. Then I saw George sit up in his trike and reach to wipe something off his sock. It was poop. Let's just say my exclamation was appropriate to the situation. We returned home. Before we entered, I directed him to take his shoes off because I saw they were full of poop too. Now there is poop on his fingers. I was yelling, "Don't touch the walls!" I got him cleaned up. As I washed him off, I said, "No big deal. It is what it is." I think his embarrassment emotion is gone. He didn't seem affected. Afterward, we went on the ride and caught up with some of the group at a stopping point. We had a good rest of the day. That episode sealed the decision to not leave George home alone. I started to take him to work with me. Can you imagine the mess if I had been gone that day? A few more messy incidents, and we have graduated from incontinence pads to the full pants. You never think of this, but a caregiver has to keep track. George is still cleaning and dressing himself most of the time. One thing he doesn't always do is change his pad. A caregiver at this stage must keep count. Watching the wastebasket may not work because those with dementia may hide their soiled pants. I am very fortunate in that George does not protest when I clean him up. He doesn't argue when I tell him to change his pad. So far. We'll see. But to get back to the story I was going to tell you, the thing I couldn't believe. On Friday, 1/20/17, he was with me at work. At lunchtime, I took him outside to a picnic table. I ate my sandwich and left him at the table to finish his lunch. Right next to the bike shop is a flower shop. In all the years we have lived here, he never stopped to buy me flowers. He even worked at the bike shop part-time, and he never brought me flowers. But that Friday, he brought in a bouquet of red roses. He must have noticed the flower shop. Or maybe someone, a coworker, talked to him about it. I have my suspicions. But then he has been, as a friend calls it, feeling frisky. I can't imagine he could plot out a strategy for wooing me at this stage of his illness. After work, we rode our trikes from work to Inverness to meet up with a few friends. There was an old car show downtown and music to dance to. I showed the flowers to our friends, and they took more pictures. In the pictures, George is smiling so proud. The music was good for dancing, and George danced practically every dance with me. Us, Frankie and I. The first dance we did was a line dance, and George just followed me around the dance floor, not doing the steps, just following me around. We had a great time. I love that we are close to town. We both miss our old home and neighbors. Twice since we have moved, we have gone back to our old neighborhood to walk around and visit folks. One couple is on the same path as us. Learning as she goes, she has shared information and experiences. She introduced me to the better support groups in the area. Another friend recommended the book Alzheimer's Proofing Your Home, and so I ordered it from Amazon. George and I joined the closest fitness club for a very reasonable fee. Melody's has character and is within walking distance. George does well, though his form sometimes worries me. He keeps going and has not injured himself yet. Well, that is enough for now. I really should go sit with him and watch a movie or something. Tomorrow night, I am hosting Girls' Game Night. I will probably set him up in the den. Our friend Bill gave us a used DVD player that is portable, like a small laptop. Maybe I will get him some movies to watch. Chapter 8. Trying to Maintain the Status Quo. This morning, I was wide awake by 4 a.m. Normally, the early mornings had been my time to do things, catch up on correspondence, work, and do yoga. I can still do all those things, but now I can do things that make noise, because George gets up too. He used to need 9 hours of sleep. Now, whenever I go to bed, he goes to bed. Whenever I get up, he gets up. Even if I get up at 2 a.m. for a couple hours, he is up with me. Me and my shadow. Ladies' Night. For Ladies' Game Night, I rented a couple movies from Redbox, things I thought George would enjoy. As soon as we got home from the store, he was fiddling with the DVD player. I explained to him, "No, those are for later. when my friends come over for games. You can watch the movies then." He says, "He," and goes and sits down. 2 minutes later, I find him fiddling with the DVD again. Then the ladies arrive, and I take him into the office and set up the computer and get a movie started. George keeps coming out and standing over my shoulder. "The movie is not playing?" I ask. I set him up again. He keeps pushing buttons to stop the movie and comes out to get more food. He always needs more food. Each time I get him more food and go back into the office and start the movie again and try to find the spot where he left off. He was able to tell me, "I've seen that before," until we found a spot he had not seen. Anyway, the gals said they had fun. And me? Well, I think next game night I won't be hosting, or I will be sending George off to someplace else.